Welcome to the second episode of Man United But Better, where we take a deep dive into the performance of Man United in the recent match against West Ham at home and look at things that could have been done better. So, Man United faced off against West Ham, who were currently in fifth position in the Premier League table, in a very important tie for both the teams because their rivals had dropped points, with Chelsea drawing, Spurs losing, and Everton losing. It was a good opportunity for both the teams to put out a decent gap from their rivals. So this is how the two teams lined up. United went with their usual 4-2-3-1 with Maguire and Lindelof in defense, with Shaw and Van Bissaka as the wing backs. The usual Fred McTominay double pivot in the absence of Pogba. Bruno Fernandes in the hole, James on the right, Greenwood up front, and Rashford, who was a doubt for the game, did start the game and, spoiler alert, played the entire 90 minutes as well. West Ham, on the other hand, went for a pretty defensive formation with three at the back or five at the back, however you see it, with Dawson, Diop, and Cresswell. You had Rice, Noble, and Soucek in midfield, with Jesse Lingard unable to play against his parent club. Mark Noble came in. You had Antonio and Bowen, who were like the attacking threats, and you had Johnson and Kufal playing as wingbacks. So the first thing we need to look at is that the approach from West Ham was very defensive. They barely threatened. They did not want to hold on to the ball. They just fell back into shape, into their five at the back shape. We'll have a deeper discussion about the shape a little later. United did struggle to break West Ham down. They had a pretty rough first 15-20 minutes. Then United settled into a rhythm, passing the ball around, trying to stretch the West Ham defense, but they could barely find any inlay. Greenwood did produce a brilliant cross, which Rashford should have scored. It was a poor miss from Marcus Rashford, but that's starting to become a trait in his game where he misses easy chances, but he is one of those players who has that spark, who has that ability to create goal scoring opportunities out of nowhere. So that's a plus for Man United that he was fit for today's game. James was a weird one today because this isn't the game that James is suited for. He usually likes games where there's a lot of space to run in behind. This was a game where he had to be technical, he had to play one touch, he had to play quick, which he did. He did put a good shift in, but his performance wasn't very inspiring. The whole Man United team wasn't very inspiring. Here again, the double pivot of Man United was exposed, where Fred and McTominay were very slow on the ball. Tried the safer option, tried sideways passes. The one time Fred looked up and passed the ball into the final third, United created a chance for Mason Greenwood, who brilliantly curled the ball to the far post, but Fabianski made a brilliant diving save to his right. So United were very laboured on the ball. Maguire and Lindelof used to just stand on the ball looking for options. Van Bissaka and Shaw did push up. Shaw had a very good game where his one-touch passing with Rashford, which we talked about in our last episode, where when James was on the left, Telles and James did not have that kind of chemistry. But the cute flicks by Rashford around the corner to release Shaw into the attack. But United did not commit bodies into the box for some weird reason. So whenever Shaw or James or Greenwood was in a crossing position, there was barely anyone to be at the end of it. United did struggle going into halftime, but into the second half, they didn't exactly make any tactical changes. They realized that they had a pretty good half, and going by the fact that West Ham barely threatened, if they just continued the way they played, an opportunity would come, and it did in the form of an own goal by Dawson. Dawson, who's West Ham fans are used to seeing him score at the opposite end. Unfortunately, was at the end of a Bruno Fernandes corner, and the ball just uh, went into the net. After this point, West Ham started to actually play, which was very surprising. A few minutes after that, Lanzini and Benrahma came on, more attacking changes for Johnson and Noble. Noble did a pretty good job screening the back five in the first half, but Johnson was clearly out of his depth in this side. He struggled to pass the ball. He gave away possession in easy places. It it was a day to forget for the young left wing back. So after the goal, West Ham did threaten for a brief period, but then United always looked in control. They didn't concede a single shot on target, which was very surprising. Harry Maguire was my man of the match, was rock solid in defense, and Luke Shaw as well. I mean, he looks like a man possessed because he's playing on top of his game, one of the best left backs in the league, and has to be in contention for an England spot for the Euros. So let's look at a deep tactical dive into how West Ham caused United problems. So if you look at the board here, this was like the starting formation in which both the teams started off. But to be completely honest, it was more like Kufal playing back, Johnson playing back again, Noble sitting in just in front of the front three, Suchek and Rice very close to him, Bowen playing Cam, and then Antonio up front. This was pretty bad because Antonio isn't a very quick forward, so isolating Antonio uh, wasn't a very good tactic because though he is a very physical presence, Lindelof and Maguire did a brilliant job handling him. They did not let him get the ball down easily. He didn't let him take a lot of touches or drive at him. And then United, as usual, when you come to an attacking perspective, it was more like Greenwood playing up front, Bruno and him switching positions occasionally, where Greenwood used to come deep for the ball and Fernandes used to make the run forward. Then you have Rashford and Shaw completely pushed up, Fred and McTominay who were trying to recirculate the ball, and Maguire and Lindelof just behind them, and James and James and Wan-Bissaka were also playing up front. The problem United had here was West Ham were very compact, so whenever say James got the ball, he was either looking for Wan-Bissaka to overlap or Fernandes to come close for him to play one-twos with. Let's just get a ball here. But the problem United had was that say when Fernandes had the ball, you want Greenwood to make this run, or you want Rashford to be in this position or make the late run. But all the forwards today always wanted to come deep and get the ball to feet, which caused a problem, which like completely crowded the final third, but did not have any bodies in the D box. Then you had like Luke Shaw making overlapping runs into this position, but then when he makes a run like this, there's Greenwood here marked by almost four players, and then Fernandes say waiting outside the box. This wasn't enough. Say if you had a James running in, or you had a James going narrow and Wan-Bissaka trying to make a run at the far posts, United could have made more goal scoring opportunities. United did make a good chance where Greenwood, who's used to drifting wide, collected the ball and delivered a beautiful cross to the far post. Rashford was around this area, the ball came in, and Rashford just lost his bearings and completely headed the ball out. It was a chance that Rashford should have converted. This is what United are missing. They're not exactly very clinical up front, even though in tight games you don't expect to create a lot of chances. So you need strikers who put them away. This is where United should look to strengthen in the upcoming transfer market. Either get a quality number 9 or get a right winger who can add goals to the team. So finally, it was a set piece which got United the goal. Then they just looked in control. It looked like a 1-0, and that's how it ended. It was a very good result for United, even though the performance was uninspiring. These are the results you need. Like this was the time when Spurs dropped points, Chelsea dropped points, Everton dropped points, and Leicester did win and were like 2 points ahead of United before the game started. So it was very crucial for United to put a decent performance, given that they just played on Thursday and most of the attacking players are injured in Cavani and Martial. So it was, even though it was a very uninspiring performance, it was a very solid performance from United from a defensive point of view. I was very impressed with how Maguire and Luke Shaw played, and they grinded out the 1-0 win. And West Ham should be disappointed because, I mean, they attacked more against City. I mean, I don't see why you would pay more respect to United over City. So it was a pretty negative approach from the manager David Moyes, who's whose whose unlucky streak at Old Trafford continues. As an away manager, he's never won at Old Trafford. But this was the time. This was the time where West Ham could have taken advantage of United's weakness in attack and the fact that West Ham are brilliant at set pieces with Suchek and Rice and Dawson, who made it a habit of scoring headers. So it was pretty disappointing for a neutral that West Ham did approach the game in such a negative fashion. But all praise to United, all praise to Ole for getting a result with the limited options he has. And hopefully for United, their attackers should be back. If I'm not wrong, Ole did say in his press conference that Martial and Cavani should be back for the next leg against AC Milan in the Europa League, coming in a few days. So it has been a shaky few months for Man United in the Premier League, with them drawing a lot of games, losing a game here and there. But they seem to have regained some kind of momentum, some kind of form heading into the business end of the season. Let's see what this means to the Premier League table as it stands. So, as it stands, United sit second, 14 points behind Man City, but United do have a game in hand. I mean, even if they win the game in hand, that's 11 points in 8 games. The title is gone. The title is over. But what United did today by winning this game is that put a considerable lead over fifth place. So if you look at the table, say West Ham and Everton West Ham win their game in hand over United, they'll be on 51 points. So that's a 6 point lead over West Ham over fifth place. This should mean that top four is secured. I mean, mathematically, it's still possible to bottle top four. But going by the fixtures, going by the fact that the chasing pack play each other and look like they're dropping points, that should be top four secured. This is a very important match. It's gonna be difficult for West Ham. I mean, they were flying high. I mean, they still have an opportunity to get a Europa League spot, but it looks like maybe Spurs or Aston Villa or Liverpool will put in a late charge for that fifth and sixth spot. And Everton look to be dead under Ancelotti. I mean, I don't know what he's doing there, but recently the performances have been very poor. So, I think Man United fans will be happy with the result. Definitely not happy with the performance, but definitely happy with the result, given the fact that they've had major injuries to some of their key players. So it's it's been a positive day. It's a right step forward. These are games which I would have expected United to lose last season, but this season they look to have found a bit of consistency, found a bit of game management. But one weird thing that I we saw today was that Ole made no substitutions at all. I mean, this could be with two reasons. One reason is that he doesn't trust his bench. He doesn't think that anyone. I mean, he barely had any good players on the bench, so I don't think he trusts anyone on his bench. Or he didn't want to upset the rhythm of the game. He thought that the players he had were doing a good job, and he didn't want to upset it by introducing a new player or changing the formation. But I mean, in the end, United are right now playing a game every 3 days, so he needs to rest players. I mean, Rashford was probably injured. I mean, he was carrying an injury, and he should not have played 90 minutes today. In the end, Bruno Fernandes was very tired. He was holding his right thigh. I mean, hopefully it's not a big injury. Maybe it's just a knock. But then again, he should not be playing 90 minutes. He should have been rested or rotated. I know there are a lack of options, but Ole should make better use of his squad. He cannot expect to play the same 11 every week and not expect their performances to drop off, because when fatigue kicks in, your passes aren't that quick, your movement isn't sharp, you're labored on the ball, and you will struggle to break down teams. So we are heading into the business end of the season with United. I mean, technically in three competitions, but they have a good chance of winning either the FA Cup or the Europa League. Hope that is given that they get past Isabella in this round. With things on the line to win, I think Ole should do a better job rotating the squad, and I think he will do a better job once he gets his options back. Once Cavani comes back, once Martial is back, and hopefully Pogba will be back in a week or two. Anyway, there are no Premier League games for 3 more weeks, if I'm not wrong. We play AC Milan next, and then we play Leicester in the FA Cup. So it's going to be there's going to be enough time for players to return uh, before we play our next Premier League game. So hopefully players get fit quick. But today was, as I to sum it up, was an uninspiring performance, but a very important win for Man United. So my three top performers of today have to be Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, and Fabianski from West Ham because he was brilliant. My three poor performance from today was Johnson, who had a very bad game. Uh, then I have to give it to Antonio because he should have done much better in holding up the ball. The third special mention has to be David Moyes because I don't think any West Ham fan will be happy in the way that he approached today's game. So that's it from me today. Thank you for tuning in to the second episode of Man United But Better. Unlike the first episode, this episode covered a Man United win, and long may this continue. We will be back again for our regular episode on Thursday after the Man United AC Milan game. Until then, stay safe, have a good time. I'll see you all on Thursday. Bye bye.